lot of CSR. Part of it is because we need to develop the kind of stakeholder relationships that we would like to have at our project stations, in the vicinity of project stations. So part of it is the interest that we have in doing that. But other than that also, we are doing a lot of CSR activity, which goes beyond the mandatory 2%, the guideline which is there. So basically, our value proposition can be broken down into these 4 pillars of, we call it the 4 pillars of our constantly evolving HR strategy. That is competence building, commitment building, culture building, and systems building. Competence building, in fact, if you, when we recruit, most of our recruitment is done at the executive trainee level. It is on very few cases that we recruit at middle level or at senior level, because we believe in growing our own timber. We develop our people, we take them as trainees, and then we develop them, and it is from amongst them that we have our people on the board, or even our chairman and managing director. So it is all basically, it is all ingrown talent, and we believe that we have to grow our own timber, and we recruit mostly at the executive trainee level. So when the person joins the organization, so it is not that immediately the person is sent on the job, or he is given a sort of a 7 days onboarding, and then he is put on the job. We invest in people. We have a comprehensive 52 weeks training program, and the person goes through this training program. That this is a paid training program. The person is an employee. The person gets the basic, etc., the scale, the various benefits that are there in the organization, and the person is doing the training. And this training is not only classroom sessions. It involves on the job. It involves simulator training. It involves interaction with the various senior leaders of the organization. It involves going through various departments, spending some time there. It involves managerial modules also, besides the technical modules, the safety modules, etc. Then we as all organizations, we also do training need analysis. And then we have curated our learning and development in a progressive series. So there are programs, the entire calendar is prepared based on the need-based interventions that are required to be done. Where there'll be functional programs, there'll be technical programs, there'll be programs on IT, on emerging areas, etc., which are all need-based and are part of the calendar. But about the functional programs, a new initiative that we have recently launched is the technical modules on the online GPI Plus platform, GPI Learn Plus platform. Now here, why I'm talking about this program is that this program is unique in terms of coverage and in terms of customization, because it covers around 6,000 of our operation and maintenance executives, and it is customized to the needs of that particular executive. So it will have technical modules, it will have safety modules, it will have location management instructions, and such other modules which we are creating customized learning paths for each and every executive based on his area of work, based on his location of posting also, because if you are operating a 500 megawatt plant, the location management instructions will be very different. And sometimes if you are, say, if you are in a plant in Gujarat, or if you are a plant in Bengal, Farakka, the entire technology will be very different. So it has to be very customized, it has to be very localized and customized based on the requirement of that particular individual when he is in that particular area. And accordingly, when the person moves to different areas, then he does additional modules on that platform, and this is tracked, online it is tracked, and the person is required to complete it in a specified time frame. We focus on experiential learning a lot, which when I say experiential learning, it does not only mean on-the-job learning. We have operation training simulators. So in these simulators, we also have physical simulators, and during the times of COVID, we also started with a remote simulator, where a person could access the simulator sitting at his desktop or sitting on his laptop. And these simulators are basically, you are exposing the engineers to multiple number of emergency situations. Sometimes it might so happen that throughout his life, and it should happen like that, he might not come across such an emergency situation, but he gets exposed to those emergency situations, and these are all assessment based also. So necessarily, when an executive trainee joins the organization, he has to go through a 2-week simulator training, he has to clear the simulator training, and every 5 years, operation executives, now we are reducing it to 3, has to necessarily undergo the simulator training once again. So we cover all operation executives in the simulator training. We have also leveraged the power of VR for training. So now we have many VR modules. Even the operators are being covered through VR modules. So you get to see the plant, you get to experiment with the plant like you do in the simulator, and you do not actually go to the plant. But you are able to, like standing over here, if my systems were here, then we could have seen a particular plant in, say, Dadri, and a particular equipment there, and you could play with the equipment, and there is no there's no risk of accident or damage. So this way we are trying to do experiential learning. We believe in cross-functional exposure, because when you talk about leadership development, if you want to develop your people as leaders, you need to have them know about all areas, of different areas, etc. So they have to be exposed to different areas. You cannot only have a person knowing about operation. He has to know about maintenance activities. He has to know about CNM. He has to know about some of the service functions. So we believe in cross-functional exposure, and we believe in mobility. Mobility and cross-functional exposure is part of is inbuilt into our career development and succession planning system. So a person necessarily has to be mobile, has to accept cross-functional exposure if he has to grow in the organization. Leadership development, we have our own in-house programs that we have on leadership development. We send people, senior leaders, to customized leadership development programs at Harvard also. That was pre-COVID. These days we don't send to Harvard. But leadership development programs at different institutions of repute, and some of the custom leadership development programs are in-house as well. So that depends on what level a person is and what type of training is required to be given to that person. And in this respect, I would talk about, when I talk about leadership development, I would also like to talk about planned interventions, because it is not only about developing leaders at senior levels, it is about developing leaders at every level. So we have our entire plan is curated in a progressive series. So at 3 stages of career of executives, all executives necessarily have to go through 3 planned interventions. And these planned interventions are linked to the career development, linked to the next level of promotion also. So that is a mandatory program, mandatory what we do. And besides that, this is for all executives, but besides that, at the level of manager, at the level of senior manager, we start identifying the high potential talent. And for this high potential talent, we have a special program which is called the Leader 10X program. This is an aspirational program. People aspire for this program, and there we give certain special inputs and of different areas, etc., to these people who are identified for this special high potential leadership development program. And at the AGM level, for people who qualify in the first round for selection for the general manager, which is supposed to be a leadership role in our organization, because most of the business unit heads at the different project stations will be at general level, general manager or executive director level, mostly at the general manager level. And so at that point in time, they are also sent, these identified people are sent to custom leadership development programs, and we have tie-ups with IIMs, with the various IIMs and ISB. We have assessment development centers, which is part of our assessment development centers. The result of the assessment development centers also has some weightage in promotion considerations, but mostly it is used as a development tool where people get the individual development plans at the end of it, and those individual development plans are tracked in terms, when the person fills the PMS, then he has to necessarily, there are 10 points awarded to the individual development plan. The person has to necessarily decide the individual development plan in consultation with his reporting officer, and he has to also take into consideration what is the assessment development report saying about him, which is individualized feedback which is given, what are the competency, potential, and value assessment reports saying about him, and what is the 360-degree feedback saying about him. 360-degree feedback is presently being used solely as a developmental initiative, but the CPV assessment, the competency, potential, and value assessment, and the ADC assessments, these have also been incorporated. They have a certain amount of weightage in the promotion considerations. Then there are other learning opportunities which I'll talk about. Commitment building, we have, as I told you, compensation is very attractive in the PSU space. You won't find very much progression in terms of your increase in the monetary compensation, but as far as the entry level is concerned, we are among the best paymasters. So ask anyone, entry level, the PSUs, especially the Maharatna PSUs will be the best paymasters. But of course, the progression in terms of monetary growth is lesser thereafter. But we have best in class benefits. And because we have our project stations at the remote locations, It is not, our bread and butter comes from the remote locations, not from the cities. So we try to give the best benefits and facilities at the project stations. So we have our Wi-Fi enabled high-class townships. We have movie theaters at our townships. We have schools, we have colleges, we have hospitals, not colleges, colleges of course in the vicinity, schools and hospitals. And we also have what we call a free medical facility we have given to our employees, not only to employees, the dependent children, and also to the dependent parents. And this free medical facility, we have empaneled hospitals across the country. You have a medical smart card which is given to each employee and each member of the family, and you can just walk in and have the best facility of cashless, in-hospital cashless facility is there. You don't have to go through TPAs, you don't have to go through insurance agencies, etc. Our employee just walks into a hospital, swipes the card, and rest all the things are taken care of. He doesn't spend even a paisa when he goes for in-hospitalization. Of course, that event should not arise, but in case it arises, then that facility is there. And rewards and recognition, much before the DPE guidelines, we have something called the DPE guidelines. As far as our salary, benefit structure, our compensation strategy, structure, etc. is concerned, we are guided by the DPE guidelines, which are a sort of ceiling that we cannot go beyond that. And there are certain things where we are free, there are certain things where the government, where the guidelines bind us. So much before the guidelines talked about performance-related pay, we in Ntpc had started performance-related pay much before that. Now, of course, the performance-related pay is in terms of the guidelines, which is based on company performance, which is based on the team or the station performance, and the individual performance also. And besides that, we have a lot of non-monetary rewards. Like, for example, the Manviyata Puruskar, or the Employee of the Year, or the department where we have Employee of the Month also. Similarly, a lot of around 14 Puruskars are there, which are basically sort of the non-monetary rewards, the pat on the back, which was there even before the guidelines started talking about it. We have a lot of insurance benefits. We have a group insurance scheme, and our employees, in case of death while in service, whether it is related to accident or whether it is related to natural causes, whether it is in the plant, whether while working, or whether it is in office, or whether while a person is on vacation, the person is covered under the group insurance facilities for around 20 lakh rupees. And besides that, we have the group personal accident insurance scheme, which is basically covering people if the accident happens. We have then for facilities for higher studies, we have the sabbatical facility for higher studies. We have what we call the incentive scheme for acquiring higher additional qualification, in which the reporting officer certifies that that qualification is going to be useful for the organization if this person attains this qualification. So that incentive scheme is there. And then we also sponsor our employees outside based on merit in each case. And we also have our own society which is running a school, business school, which is called Ntpc School of Business. And there we have a postgraduate diploma in management program, where we also sponsor around 20 of our executives, and around the rest of the batch comprises of executives from different organizations who come and join, sometimes sponsored by the organization, sometimes on their own. Loans, etc. We have a lot of advances which we give to our employees, house building advance, around 60 lakhs. And these are all the children higher education loan for outside India as well as within India. Multi-purpose, which is around 4 months basic pay and DA. And at my level, if you say 4 months basic pay and DA, it will come around, multi-purpose loan will come around 12 to 14 lakhs around, if you, at my level, if you talk about it. So, and multi-purpose advance is interest-free. So some of the advances are interest-free, and some of the advances have a nominal rate of interest, but if you compare it to the market, it is very nominal. So these are some of the facilities which are there. We focus a lot on performance management system. We have been trying to make the system as objective as possible. And of course, in any sort of performance management, as long as there are people, some amount of subjectivity will always be there. But nevertheless, to try to remove subjectivity, we have an online performance management system. And today we are talking about continuous assessment, continuous performance, real-time performance feedback. So we have a system called a weekly planner. A person plans at the start of the week, and then he's assessed on his weekly plan. The reporting officer can add to his plan, can delete from his plan, and monthly assessment is done, and real-time performance feedback is there. The feedback is also given by the RO, and at the same time, through the weekly planner, the person also tries to record or put on record as to whether he is displaying the 4 essential leadership attributes which we have defined. One is growth, one is ownership, empowerment, risk-taking, and empowerment, risk-taking, growth, and ownership. And then we have started coaching. Coaching we have started for selected business unit heads. So that is they receive 1-to-1 11 months long coaching initiative, which is on-the-job coaching initiative, and we have tied up with external agencies, and they are assigned very highly certified and very proficient and recognized coaches. And this journey is over a period of 11 months. And the objective is that these selected business unit heads, they will also be driving the culture of coaching down below. And in fact, we had a focused organization-wide initiative where we covered all the reporting officers, those who had 3 or more people reporting to them. We covered them through a program which was basically focusing on how to give feedback, how to have performance discussions, how to do performance coaching, how to develop your subordinates. So because we give a lot of importance to this in the PMS for the reporting officers. And mentoring system, we have schemes of mentoring, but practically speaking, mentoring is happening at the executive trainee level at the when the new hires, they join the organization. Some, of course, are lateral hires, but most of the recruitment is through the executive trainee scheme. So at that point in time, the mentoring is being done. When they are trainees, they are assigned mentors, and who are senior people in the organization. And there's a policy which defines as to what is expected of the mentor, what is expected of the mentee, how they should go about it, and this acts as a guideline for both the mentor and the mentees. And work-life balance. We are an organization which is working in, which is an organization which runs 24/7. It is said that the sun never set on the British Empire. The sun does set on NTPC, but we are there serving the nation 24/7 across India, pan-India. So what happens is that in such a situation, we cannot offer what is the, today we are talking a lot about work from home, especially after COVID. And during COVID, of course, it was work from home for many. At that point in time also, our engineers, our operators couldn't work from home. They had to work from the plant only, because otherwise the country would not have any electricity. Because I failed to mention, we generate 1/4 of the total electricity of this country, having only around 17% of the installed capacity. So that is why we always say that NTPC lights 1/4 of the total bulbs that are there, that are lighted in this country. So, but what we do for work-life balance is that there are certain areas, like for instance, our inspection offices, some of our commercial offices, inspection offices, there we have given this work from home facility. But otherwise, the work we are not, because of the kind of industry we are in, this is not a very feasible option for us. But then we have certain flexible leaves. We have a lot of leaves option. We have flexi timings. Okay. So about the systems, etc., I would just like to talk about onboarding. I've already talked about. We already talked about the need-based training, experiential learning. I've talked about cross-functional. Then planned intervention. Otherwise, I've also talked about. This is what we do for leveraging technology for learning. You can see this. We sustain the bond lifelong. So if you see, this is all about healthcare. We also have recently, in the last 2 years back, we introduced Snehal, which is our one-to-one, which is our EAP, Employee Assistance Program. Then this is our competency-based manpower planning system. This is all that we do, little bit of what we do to generate a superior employee experience through digitization. Our Madad Grievance portal, our online travel tie-up, where you can move, you have a card and you don't have to pay anywhere, you just use that card. You have the medical smart card, which I talked about. CLIMS is our contract labor information management system. So these are some of the awards that we have won in the L&D space and in the HR space. We were recognized as, for 6 times we have received the, 6 times we have received the ATD Best Award for 6 years. This year also, 2020, we were recognized, we have been recognized by ATD as a best, as ATD Best. And we are among only PSU to be conferred the CII National HR Excellence Award 2020-21, where we got the role model. And till now, CII has given the role model only to 2 organizations, one of them being Ntpc. This is the periodic table. I don't have time, but I think I have covered most of them. This is certain relief measures we did for families of deceased employees. So that is what we are: non-stop working, non-stop planning, non-stop motivating, non-stop caring, non-stop serving, non-stop accolades, and once an Ntpcn, always an Ntpcn. Our attrition rate is way below 1% executive attrition rate for so many years running. So once a person joins Ntpc, he stays an Ntpcn, and even after superannuating from Ntpc, he remains an Ntpcn, and the bond goes lifelong because the association and the caring still continues. And our challenges are same as everyone else's, but not everyone else is the nation's lifeline. The glow must go on, and that is what we offer as Ntpc. Thank you very much. Any questions?